Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us for our first episode of Grizz and Biz. My name is Courtney Perttula. I am a junior here at Oakland University studying accounting, and today I am so excited because I have the pleasure of interviewing Joey Namou.
Woo woo! First episode.
Yeah, I'm pumped. So Joey is a 2015 marketing grad from the School of Business, and he is now the co-founder of Woodward Sports Network.
There's too many titles.
Seriously.
My wife reminds me all the time that I'm doing too much.
Seriously. So he's co-founder of Woodward Sports Network. He is chief growth officer at RHB Laboratories and founder of Print House Detroit, amongst many other things. I swear, you do everything. It's insane.
That's something that being here just taught me.
Yeah, 100%.
You got to do a lot of things to, just make sure that you're doing everything that your heart desires.
1,000%. And you also might recognize Joey from being on the Mojo in the Morning show on Channel 955 a few years back.
It's crazy when you talk about these years, too. When you mentioned 2015, I'm like, that is insane. We're coming up on 10 years almost. I remember, too, working in radio, always telling, like, Mojo and all of them that were older than me, obviously, like, man, you guys have been doing this for 20 years. You guys are so old. And now I'm that person getting that way. And I'm like, sheesh.
Seriously. It's insane. Time flies. So how are you doing today?
Awesome. And especially now knowing that I'm the first guest on this podcast is really, really honoring. I'm excited about that.
Thank you so much for coming. We're really lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I kind of just want to start off at the beginning and hear how your career journey went, how you came from Oakland to where you are now. So could you take us back to your time at OU and kind of walk us through those beginning steps in your career journey?
You're making me remember all the way back then. I graduated from Brother Rice High School in Bloomfield Hills area in 2011. And that's when I decided I wanted to come to Oakland University because I had an uncle that actually came here. And I was at that weird pivotal moment in my life to where I didn't really have friends coming here. Mm-hmm. A lot of my friends were going to Wayne State, University of Detroit Mercy, and a lot of them were going out of town. And that was something that my parents did not want me to do first. But second, I just realized, I looked up to my uncle and I wanted to kind of have a similar career path. And I wanted to just explore the option of seeing what this university and campus was all about. And I did the overnight orientation. Remember, I tried that out and I made some friends and I was like, this is a place that I could see being my home and my future. And I came and I did it and it was just amazing. Just seeing the campus and how beautiful it was, because no offense to any other campus, but you go to a Wayne State, it's kind of stressful, you're
right,
in a big city in the heart of Detroit, and there's this building, but then
overwhelming.
You come to Oakland University, one, free parking. That hasn't changed yet, has it?
No, it has not.
Okay, wow, that's amazing.
Love it.
So that was a big selling point for me. But two, you just see everything being at one site, and that was awesome. And you have the nice the OC with the Oakland Center where everybody can hang out, nice communal spot in the middle of it all, in the heart of the center of campus. And it just had really good vibes. So I really loved that. So that's kind of what played a part in me choosing Oakland University.
I feel it. Yeah, I'm totally the same way. Once I came here, once I did a campus tour, I'm like, this is it. This is where I'm going to end up for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you have others in mind, or this was the first and only that you did?
So yeah, it was kind of a crazy experience. So I applied for a bunch of different schools because I was going through an audition process. I planned on double majoring in acting and accounting, then kind of switched it over to just accounting once I started here.
Beautiful.
But out of all I was going to schools that were in New York, like all over the country, and Oakland stuck. I loved it. It was amazing.
Especially now when I was coming through, I was like, oh my gosh, this campus is beautiful.
Especially
like it was
in the
when I
summer
was
and
here.
Fall. Oh my gosh, yeah. I love it.
It was when I was here. Now I look and I'm like, this campus is just, it's becoming so much more than when I was here. And I love to see that because that's a huge opportunity. Even you having this opportunity to be the host of this podcast, like I look back at my career, I didn't have any of these resources really. We had WXOU when I was a student still, but the opportunity to do a podcast, everybody could do it.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So did you start off in marketing at OU, or what was kind of your path? Like, what made you want to go towards that area?
Yeah, so this is where it gets weird, right? So I have another uncle that is a CPA. So
nice.
My start, I mean, you said you're in accounting.
Right, yeah.
That's what I was going to be. I was going to be a CPA my freshman year.
No way.
And then I had an internship not too far from here, and I just really did not like the experience. And I realized that was happy I tried it, but I just realized that I needed something more, something different in life.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's when I was driving to my freshman semester. I was driving to, give me a second here, I'm thinking way back, almost 10 plus years now. But I was driving to my first midterm, and I remember listening to the radio and hearing Mojo on the air. And I remember him, because I used to listen all the time. I used to call all the time to get tickets.
I do the same thing.
Never once got through. Never. And then I ended up getting through that day because he was firing an intern live on the air. We talk about it all the time.
Funny.
Don't even really remember what it was.
Oh my God.
But I've shared this story once on the air on the radio as well. And I remember he was firing the intern. He was pissed. He kicked him out of the studio, and it just it wasn't working out for him on the show. And he opened up the phone lines to let someone call in and get that opportunity to be the replacement.
That's hilarious.
The best part, I ended up getting through. I get answered within like 30 seconds. And, when you call to win tickets, like the phone lines are full, so you got to call back, call back. I think I maybe called back 3-4 times and I got through. And all of a sudden I'm talking, and the girl on the phone was freaking out because she was the intern producer. So she wasn't even the actual
So
producer.
she wasn't the one getting fired. Was she the one getting fired or no?
No, she was just the one answering the phones.
She's like, not me next.
So she's like, I really don't know. We got to talk to him in the commercial break and figure this out. I was like, no, just let me come by. And she was like, okay, how soon can you get here? And I'm like, ooh, I'll be there in 30 minutes. I said like 27 minutes too. I didn't even know the time. I just didn't really know the address and all that. So she ends up giving me the address. I get there in less than 30 minutes. As probably shouldn't talk about this, but I was emailing while driving my professor saying, hey, I need a makeup exam. This opportunity popped up. I need to take it. And I think I used like an Eminem line, like you only get one opportunity. And I like said something like that. I was thinking about Eminem in my head. And I send it, and I go. Interview went well. Got the opportunity. They invited me to come back the next day. And then as I leave, and they liked me in the studio, as I leave, I check my phone. I got an email from the professor saying there will be no makeup exam.
Oh,
that was
that's
it.
So tough.
That was it.
There
will be no
Nothing
makeup
else?
exam. I'll remember that. That's all it said.
Wow.
Not even a signature in the email. Just there will be no makeup exam. I'm like, ooh.
Wow.
Gotta believe in yourself.
Yeah. And look where it brought you.
And that was the start.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's just so important to know. That's not always, like, you had this plan. You knew you were going to do this, and then you were going to get an internship. Like, you had this plan, but you saw an opportunity. You just have to take that sometimes.
That's what it was. It was more the opportunity. Like, in terms of plan, I mean, my plan at that point was to be a CPA.
Yeah.
And, I'm not obviously saying skip school, this, that, because I still finished, right? I changed my degree to marketing because that was more in line with my new career path. Mm-hmm. But it's just more so when you have an opportunity, you got to just take it.
Yeah.
And that's when I became the yes man, because there were so many opportunities in my career where, most people were not being offered them, or who knows, they were busy and they say, oh, no, you can't do that in the radio business, in the media world. When you get an opportunity, you got to take it and then see where it leads you.
Yeah, for sure. So what would you say you learned most while working in radio? Like, did anything from OU in your marketing degree? Because I feel like a lot of people who work in marketing go to work for corporate companies. They don't really get to be an on-air personality on the radio.
Yes,
so
for sure.
What did you take away from that experience?
The biggest takeaway, I would say, is your network. I feel like in that radio business, in the media world, it's all about who you know. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anyone when I entered. And that's really the way that people get opportunities, is by knowing somebody. But that taught me at that moment, kind of back to when I started OU and I was coming to the campus by myself. I didn't really have anybody. That put me in an uncomfortable situation, which was great. And I realize now, looking back, being in those uncomfortable situations is great for yourself, because it forces you to go out and network and meet people. And then from that start, that was the pivotal moment to where I realized, like, you just got to go out and put yourself in these uncomfortable situations, network, see who you meet. And I was doing 10 events a week. So I was meeting hundreds, if not thousands, of people every single week. And, that was a huge part to my growth on social media and networking. And that's really the biggest takeaway, is you just got to do that, especially being on a campus with, I don't know the number, but how many thousands of students are here?
Yeah.
That's a huge opportunity to just be able to network, because this was my freshman year. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was just an intern. And then the way that I grew was from my upper management and bosses seeing my social media following grow. And just from all these different events, I was the yes man, I told you. There was not an event I shut down.
That's
I was
awesome.
doing every and anything just to build my brand, because at the end of the day, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have anybody there that was going to help elevate me. I was doing it all on my own.
Yeah, that's really...
And you needed that.
That's amazing to hear, because I feel like not everyone knows that. Not everyone knows you can just dive into those situations.
Yeah, and that was like, that's why I opened up with my story about, you know, at first I was like, I don't want people to know that I skipped an exam and this and that, because
like not the best advice, but
it's really not, you know, and especially like being a mentor towards so many young kids. I didn't want them to, you know, just hear that part and then all of a sudden it's, oh, I'm done with school.
Yeah, right.
It's a fine line. Like, that's a 1 in a million opportunity.
Yeah, 100%.
The show's been, what, 15 years since then, 14 years since then. That moment, nobody else has had that opportunity, you know, to where if someone gets fired live on the air, you just got to call up and take that chance.
Yeah, I feel like you recognized how rare that was too. So you were like, it's not the best choice, but I think for right now it is the best choice. So
absolutely.
That's amazing. So what, after working on the radio, is that when you came on to be the co-founder of Woodward Sports Network?
Yeah, so my radio run was from 2012 to 2020. So that was kind of, everybody was in a weird funk during that COVID, when COVID hit.
100%.
So COVID hit Friday, March 13th. I remember because it was Friday the 13th. I remember thinking that.
Oh my gosh.
That was when it was in 2020. So we started Woodward Sports in October of 2020. And I just reached that point in my career where I was on the morning show for maybe six years at that point, and forever grateful for all the opportunities and how I built a good brand and an image for myself locally with that show. And it made me realize that I needed more in my life, and different opportunities that I wanted in the radio world weren't coming to me, and kept trying and I wasn't getting them to get my own show and different opportunities, that I realized, you know what, my close friend Stick, who I worked in radio with, he came up with the concept of Woodward Sports, and he called me about it. And at first I was like, I'm on the biggest morning show in Detroit. This was my dream when I started the business. I think I kind of want to stay and see, you know, there's still unfinished business here for me. And after a couple of days, you know, he was like, well, I'm doing it. You in or not? And at that moment, I was kind of ring the bell back to when it all began. You don't want to miss up on any of these opportunities to start your own media network in Detroit. Switching to sports was a big transition, but after a couple of days, I just made the decision. I was like, you know what, let's try this.
That's amazing. And again, like you said, just say yes to these opportunities. It's hard to pass that up.
When you're going to have some where you say yes and it doesn't work out, right? I've had a bunch of those throughout my career, but you know, it's one of those that even if you say yes and it doesn't work out, there's always going to be something you learn from the opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. So was that the first organization that you kind of went to after talking on the Mojo in the Morning show?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So before that, I mean, I worked at Subway. That was my first job. Sandwich artist. Honestly,
not a sandwich
I still go to
maker,
Subway.
A sandwich artist.
Absolutely. It's still in my LinkedIn bio. It's still in my resumes, everything. I still have that.
That's
because
amazing.
That was a huge part for me too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that opportunity of being able to talk to people, like it's something that's forgotten now in all these fast food, fast casual, whatever you call it, service industries, is can't take away the fact of still being able to talk to another person, right?
Yeah.
That's something that's very important. Customer service is huge to me because customer service applies to everything in life, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that.
You become an accountant or you go to become a CPA, you got to apply that customer service to all your customers.
Yeah, definitely.
Applies to everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Subway. I don't know how I just started talking about Subway, but I went Subway to my radio career to Woodward Sports.
Right. So with it starting, because you guys started Woodward Sports from scratch, correct?
Yeah.
So how do you even begin to start a project like that? Like, I can't even imagine, because it's grown so much over these past, how many, 4 years it's been
4
now?
years.
Yeah.
Coming up on 4.
Yeah. How do you even start putting that idea to work?
I mean, so my business partner at the time, Stick, obviously he's been in the media world for just say 15 plus years at that time. I was coming up on 10 years of experience at that time. And we just knew so much about the business throughout our experiences in life and in the business. And that was the moment where we realized radio was just going in a different direction at that time. Like right now we're on a podcast.
Yeah.
This is the new, this is the future. Everybody's doing a podcast.
Yeah.
You're getting all your on-demand content in the palm of your hands on a phone. You have YouTube. YouTube Live was starting to become a thing at that point. So that's where we realized radio was kind of a dying breed at that point. And we wanted to be ahead of the future. So that's when we wanted to start something kind of similar to Barstool Sports was an inspiration at that time, but they didn't really do the live programming. So what we took was, you could say, a Barstool Sports, mixing that with the whole radio and TV programming model of having live shows throughout the day and giving content, because Detroit sports coverage, there's really not much here locally. I mean, yes, there's the radio outlet with 97.1, but even that, in my opinion, it's a dying breed. You have the same voices, and we bring a different platform to where what we offer, you're getting different young opinions and giving opportunities to, just say this podcast blows up and all of a sudden you're getting tons of viewers on this podcast, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's going to be that opportunity to where someone else is looking at you and then brings you a part of their program that they're working on. So that's what we do. We just look for new young talent. There's hundreds and thousands of different Detroit sports coverage podcasts. And that's who we're looking at to give them those opportunities that we all once received at some point of our career.
That's awesome. That's really cool, just to involve people that you don't know. You have to take a chance on them.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's really cool that you're able to bring those and kind of foster their growth.
Yeah.
And then I was also wondering, so we were talking about how many hats you wear. I swear, seriously, you dabble in everything. Yeah. When I looked at your LinkedIn, I was like, oh my gosh, what does this guy do on a day-to-day basis? So could you kind of talk to us about what your day-to-day looks like being involved in all of these different organizations?
This is where I got to give a shout out to Google Calendar, because that keeps me in line.
Yeah, 1,000%. I had one of those today for this.
There's so many different things, and organization is huge. That's the biggest thing is, you could look at me from a 10,000 foot view and say, man, how are you handling all this stuff? But when you're super organized and you have a lot of good people around you and, keeping your organizations organized, that's the biggest, in my opinion, is if you could have everybody on the same speed as you, because there's a lot that I'm doing, but it's nothing that I can't handle. So, in terms of my days, it's tough to say like, oh, every day I'm doing this and this and this. It just really depends on what's planned with them all. But I mean, like I said, Woodward Sports, we're almost 4 years into the operation. So that's at a point to where that's running kind of like a nice oiled machine, to where it's kind of running itself.
That's great.
My focus on that business is the overall brand of Woodward Sports. I still have so many great connections and relationships in the city. So using those relationships, driving new business development is always a huge thing and focus, and just making sure everybody's happy that we work with. So that is a daily basis thing. How much percentage I give to it, I can't put a number on it. But then I mix that with my other responsibility of being the founder of Print House Detroit, which is my clothing business, where we do screen print, embroidery, and promotional products for other businesses. And that's another one that's pretty much all business development. So when you look at just mixing everything, I mean, in terms of new business development, that's you give it as much as you want or as little as you want. And that's the challenge. When you're doing that, it's all about you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah. So you brought up Print House Detroit. I would love to hear more about that, because I feel like, I don't know, I could be wrong here, but Woodward Sports, live sports broadcasting, and clothes, those don't really scream hand in hand to me. I feel like they're pretty different. Like, I can see the transition from radio to live sports broadcasting, but what made you come up with this idea for this business?
Going back to Barstool Sports, right? That's huge. I don't know a percentage, but I would guess just say a quarter of their revenue.
Really?
So clothing kind of does go hand in hand. I mean, we do a lot of merch on the Woodward Sports side of it as well. But this kind of ages back to, I'd say, about 8 years ago. One of my friends has been in the business for 20 plus years.
Oh,
and
wow.
He's actually my oldest brother's close friend. He's been in the business for a really long time, so I became a referral partner for him. And I was helping him get new business and new different clients throughout the years. That about 4 years ago, he and I, kind of when I started Woodward Sports, formed a business together. That was this Print House Detroit. And, it just became something that it became a passion of mine, because
that's awesome.
I just love seeing like the branding side of companies. It was one that even when you mentioned my other job with RHB Laboratories, you know, I enter that business and I get that job, just say about 2 years ago. They didn't have any clothing for their entire staff.
Really?
And, you know, you're going out there, you got to look professional. So
sure.
That's one of my favorite things is really meeting with different business owners and helping them create that vision, because they don't really know much. You know, it's kind of like a marketing thing. When businesses start up, they don't really have a footprint for what they want their marketing to look like. So that was kind of that in for me, where it's like I really enjoy it, and seeing the branding side of it. I'm just call myself a branding expert. Over the years, that's one thing that I've loved, and I still wanted to keep my grasp on that marketing side of it, because I'm transitioning a little bit away from overall marketing, because I was in the digital marketing agency world for a little bit and all that. Now this is kind of my little touch on it.
Yeah, and I feel like I didn't even make the connection that when you're creating clothing for each of these businesses, you really have to emphasize their brand. It's not just put a logo on the shirt, call it a day.
Oh, yeah.
It's you have to think of what they represent and stuff, and that's where your marketing degree comes in, I'm sure. So did any experience or any type of, like, does anything stick with you from your time at OU into this, transitioning to this job now, of how marketing can really bring together different brands like that?
I mean, that's a huge point, right? Like any embroidery or screen printing specialist company out there can just slap a logo on anything, right? You get the machine, you do it, boom. But that's where I like to see and differentiate myself from these different companies is we put more emphasis on the marketing side of it and helping you bring your idea, which oftentimes companies don't know, to life. Yeah. And that's where it's more than just putting a logo. You put in some creativity of just trying some different things and seeing the different trends. And that's something that I'm actually working with Oakland University too, you know, to kind of bring some more life to the, I think it's called the Grizz store.
Yeah. I think so.
So, you know, that's all it is.
Love
you know,
it.
Everybody could throw a logo on anything. It's about knowing the trends and knowing what people wear. Like right now we're in this weird fashion trend of oversized clothing. Yeah. A lot of people love wearing this oversized clothing. Yeah. Oakland University doesn't really have that.
That's true. I never even thought about that, because I'm always wearing oversized t-shirts. I'm always just throwing one on if I have to go to the gym or take a walk or anything. Yeah. And I didn't even think. I barely have any Oakland t-shirts because of that. Yep. That's exciting. That's cool.
It's weird. It's keeping up with all these trends. It changes every couple of years, but you got to be on top of it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. What tools do you use to kind of stay on top of the trends and enhance this marketing skill?
The freest tool of them all. I just made up a word, is social media. Yeah. You know, you just see the trends and you just get to see what everybody is wearing. And, you know, you kind of just see it from being out and about, right? When I do events, just say with different college campuses, if I'm emceeing different events, or recently doing the Rochester Hills Fireworks Show. That's an event I MC every single year with Mayor Brian Burnett for Rochester Hills. You go and you just see what everybody's wearing. And I'm always looking. Like that's one thing, even when I meet different business owners, my eye goes straight to that logo. How does it look? Is there something I could improve? Kind of like my wife is an optometrist and all she looks at is glasses. When she sees people, she's judging you off your glasses, how they look, the condition of them. That's how I am with clothing. It's weird. Awesome. It's a very weird addiction that I have, but I really do love that.
That's really great. That's awesome. So with your other job, I feel like I keep saying with your other job,
It's the last of them, I promise.
For Chief Growth Officer at RHB Laboratories, is that the same type of work? Because if I'm going to be honest, I don't really know.
No.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know really what that entails. So I would love to hear more about what you do in that area of work.
And that's what I like. I like when it's all surprises.
Yeah,
so I get to talk about it. It's all conversation starters. But RHB Laboratories, this was something that I wanted to get into because a lot of my family's in the medical world. And I was talking to my brother, and he was giving me good advice, because you think back to COVID, right? When COVID hit, there were certain things that weren't that essential work. And medical, that's going to be something that's always essential work out there. So when I started it, I was talking to the owner of the company, because I've known him for years prior, and I wanted something that was more just, say, pandemic proof, because clothing business, if something were to happen, that's going to be something that's tough. Woodward Sports, that's marketing. That's going to be tough. So I wanted something that was going to, set myself up for long-term success, because nothing can happen in the medical world, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a necessity. It's going to be something that's needed forever. And what we do is we specialize in urine drug screens
Really?
and oral swabs.
Oh
so
my gosh.
literally, I love talking about this because people look at me as, Joey Radio.
Yeah.
People don't even know my last name.
Right.
Joey Radio, my social media. So now switch it all up, doing some medical work now. And I've been doing it for about 2 years, and it's all customer service, which I love. Taking care of different people, all the relationship that you work with, all the different providers. So what we do is different medical practices, whether it's internal medicine, family medicine, pain addiction specialists. We work with a wide variety of different medical practices. And what we do is when these providers are prescribing their patients on controlled substances, they use our resources and our tests to give them further information on how to better treat the patient, to make sure, when you're giving them these different medications, that they're taking them, right? Not selling them, making sure that there's no drug-to-drug interactions if they're taking other medications. So it's a huge challenge for me, which I like. I love challenging myself, putting myself in these awkward situations and uncomfortable situations. And when I started this 2 years ago, it was something that, I just started on the new business development side. And then I started working closely with the CEO of the company, and it just became a good relationship. And then he started seeing me providing something different, kind of back to my clothing business.
For sure.
You got to make yourself different. I offer kind of that marketing, which I learned from Oakland University and being here with the School of Business. You apply these different practices towards industries that in the medical world, marketing really isn't a big thing. So me having all these experiences in life, I offer something different to RHB Laboratories that now is differentiating that brand versus all the different medical toxicology labs out there.
Yeah, 100%.
So a lot of that, and just seeing the overall growth and success of the entire business.
That's awesome. So what would your best advice be to find what makes you different? Because I feel like that's really hard for some people. They want to stand out from everyone else. They want to show people that they have what it takes, but I feel like it's really hard finding different ways to differentiate yourself from other people. So do you have any advice for how to go about doing that?
Yeah, there's always advice. I look at it as, when I got in radio, I didn't know that's what I wanted to do. The opportunity presented itself, try it out. So I always recommend to anybody asking about a career, different advice, you can't come up to me and say, oh, what should I do? I don't know. What do you like? Is there certain different things? For me, I like sports. So that's where the whole Woodward Sports came about. So it's just trying it out and seeing, because, you might just say like makeup, and all of a sudden I know someone that was a physician assistant. They became a PA, and then all of a sudden they switched it all up and got into the medical spa stuff.
Oh,
know about all that with the Botox and all that.
Esthetician.
Now spell it.
I'm good. I'll pass on that.
But, that's what I love. You put all that schooling, all that money, a lot of student debt into becoming a PA. And then all of a sudden they switched it and started this whole med spa business. And that seemed to be a whole new trend in itself right now.
Yeah.
I blame the Kardashians for that. But, you start that, and all of a sudden she's looking back at her career and saying, I'm a lot happier doing this.
Yeah.
So overall, it's just, you got to try it out. A lot of it is market research. And if you want to try out med spas, see different competitors, see it locally, see it on the national level. And that's the cool part about having this free resource of social media, is you could learn so much for absolutely no cost.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like too, I think you have to just dive into it. Some people are really hesitant about making these changes, making these big changes, but if it's something you're passionate about, just put 100% effort into it, and it'll all work out in the end. It's never going to just completely go downhill.
Absolutely. And I look back to being a full-time student at Oakland University and still handling just about full-time work throughout the radio career, doing it, because that was my freshman year when it all happened. So it was freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year.
And were you working full-time? Is their office in downtown Detroit? Like, did you have to?
It's actually moving to downtown Detroit, but it was in Farmington Hills.
Oh, gotcha.
Which was close to my house, which was nice at the time.
That works out. So were you working 40 hours a week at the radio station while taking classes?
Can't even talk about the number.
Oh my gosh, that's
big
intense.
numbers of hours, but
that is intense.
you got to put into it what you want out.
100%.
And that's it's not a business to where you look at it as a regular full time. There was no times where I could look at it and say, oh, it was a 9 to 5 shift.
Yeah.
Or if people would say, hey, let's hang out 6 o'clock, I never made commitments because I knew I wanted to put all my focus towards my work and building this opportunity because, you just got to create your brand and that's it. Someone else is out there trying to get my position. At every single point, there was always somebody out there to try to take my position over. And, it's a lot more competitive in that versus different professions, I would think. But that was where never even looked at the amount of hours I was putting into it. It was all about the goal and doing whatever it took to make that goal happen.
Yeah. What I'm kind of gathering from this is that you've been busy since your freshman year at OU.
Absolutely.
So what is your driving force to continue working this hard? Because I'm sure you get tired. I'm sure it gets hard. Yeah. But what is your why behind all of this hard work that you're putting into your career?
See, for me, when I started all of that, I was single and there really was no family aspect. Yeah, I wanted to make myself proud. I wanted to make my family proud. But that was kind of just instilled in me at a young age from my parents having a good work ethic. So now, I'm a father. I got 2 kids and a wife. And now as a family, you have something more to work towards and what you're working for. So obviously the why now becomes my family.
Yeah, for sure. That makes 100% sense. And then where would you say was a time in your life where you really had to just put your head down and work? And how did you get through that? Because just hearing about everything that you have to balance your family life, obviously balance your 3 different careers that you have right now. And then back during your time at OU, you had to balance working an internship and classes. How would you say, when did you know that all you had to do was put your head down and get the work done?
Anything that you do in life, there's going to be distractions.
Yeah.
And when it came to those distractions and, as a college student, all my friends were going out and partying and doing things that I never really cared to do. So when I go back and think, I was never that person that wanted to go out, and I always wanted to just work. So staying focused and having these big goals and dreams is really what kind of kept me in line, because I wasn't going to be the one getting distracted with everything else that all my other friends were doing. I lost a lot of friends throughout the way because you realize your true self. You realize that's not who I want to be. So I never was going out and drinking. I still really don't do it. And I realized that all of that kept me in line to just stay focused, because, at the end of the day, anyone that gets into that, they outgrow it, right?
Yeah.
You're going to do it. It's fun for a little bit. And then all of a sudden you realize, I wish I didn't do all that. And I learned that through having 3 older brothers and learning from their mistakes. And that's what I'm forever grateful for, was they made the mistakes for me to be more in line and focused on my career path. So that's where I was years ahead of everybody else, I felt like.
For sure. And so there's just one final question that I kind of wanted to wrap
Already
up with.
Final?
Yeah, I know. Time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
What is your best piece of advice to current OU students that you wish you would have known when you were going to school here?
From a school side of it, or just overall?
Overall, I'd say.
Yeah, I would say just don't be scared. Try it. Because at the end of the day, you never really know what it is that you want to do in life. And that's where I look at me starting into this medical business venture, is I just wanted to challenge myself and do something else, because I don't want to look back 20 years and say, oh, I wish I tried it, or, oh, I'm not happy doing this. That's why I'm doing 3 things, because over time I'm going to be able to see what it is that I'm happiest doing, and I'm going to just put more energy towards that. So if you're just doing one thing, it makes me sad sometimes when you talk to people and they've only done one thing. You think back of, working at a Ford plant. It's all people did. I'm sure we all have uncles or grandparents even, or great-grandparents, that's all they ever did was just worked on the line for 40 years, 50 years. They provided for their family. They retired and moved on. But were they happy?
Yeah.
You'll never be able to understand that. And I talk a lot too, right? Like I communicate, and like I'll ask my parents, like my dad, he does mortgages, and I'll ask him, I'll say, are you happy? And he says, that's all I know. And when you have these different conversations, it makes you realize that you don't want to be that. And I mean, he does real well for himself. He's a successful businessman, but I want my happiness to come first, because the success will come. You just got to make sure you're happy first, because if you're happy waking up every day and you're doing what you love, then everything else is going to be a breeze. You're going to have fun doing it.
Yeah, 1,000%. Thank you. I'm sure everyone will appreciate that. And while you're here on campus, is there anyone you want to shout out at OU that you remember from back in the day?
Ooh, that's a big question right there. I mean, definitely. I used to call him Dean Mac because he was the dean of students at the time. But Glenn McIntosh is his name. He's got big fancy titles now, VPs and all that. But he was a huge part of, me just loving the campus and venturing off into doing different things, because he was at that overnight orientation, they paired me with a roommate that went to high school near me. That's kind of how they did it. And Glenn McIntosh was his uncle. And I connected with him at a very early part of me being an OU student. Yeah. And he kind of pointed me in different directions as far as, man, you should try out being a part of Oakland University Student Congress. And then when I was there, then I got the radio opportunity, and then they pointed me into doing WXOU. So I give a lot of credit towards my success and overall happiness on campus to him, because like I said, I didn't come here with a bunch of different classmates that I was already prior friends with. Had to make all those different relationships. So meeting a dean of student at the time was a really cool opportunity for me, and I definitely wanted to thank him.
That's awesome. And it's so important to find a mentor, especially in this impressionable age. I feel like you just always need some guidance. It always helps to have someone looking out for you.
And that's the cool part about this campus is there's so many different resources. Like I was a part of the School of Business here, but I also did Student Congress, and I also did a little bit of work with the Student Program Board and all the concerts that I would put on. So it's like there's just so many opportunities. You don't even need to leave the campus. You can do them all right here.
Yeah. Right.
And now a podcast studio.
Yeah, I know.
You're lucky, Courtney. You got this opportunity. Take advantage of it.
I'm so
proud
grateful.
of you for doing it, though. It's awesome.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I know you were nervous. This was the first one, and you did way better. You don't want to hear my first radio tape. You do not want to hear it.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Is there anyone else that you want to shout out?
Can't forget. I mean, especially me being here back at OU. Got to shout out the OU GOAT, Neil Rule. He is the voice of Golden Grizzlies of the sports here, and he's also our 11 to 1 p.m. Host on Woodward Sports. This
has been so incredible learning about your career path. Is there a best way for our listeners to connect with you after this is done, after they hear about it?
Joey Radio on social media.
Nice.
Instagram's probably my what's the new hot platform now? Are you TikTok?
I watch it, but I don't make them.
Yeah, that's garbage in my opinion. It's such a waste of time. But you should be on TikTok, I'm sure, doing different content nowadays.
I'd say Instagram's still a hot one.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. So I'm not that outdated yet.
Yeah.
Yet. Keyword.
That's so funny. Thank you so much, Joey. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come over here, share your career journey, and just share your advice in the world of business.
Absolutely. Oakland University definitely has my heart and always supported me, so I'll be back to support them whenever I can.
And thank you so much to our viewers for joining us on the first episode of Grizz and Biz. Be sure to connect with us on social media at OUB School on Instagram, and then join us or connect with us on LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Bye.